So for this question, what we have to do is write an equivalent expression for the expression shown below. And the expression is 1/4 g minus 5, open parentheses, 2g plus 3/4. Now the best way to answer a question like this is by using the process that we know as BDBC, which stands for box. We box our first expression, and then we distribute if possible, and then we combine our like terms. But I want to add another step into this process, just another B. And the other B stands for the same thing as the first B, which is to box our expression. And the reason why we do that is after we distribute, we get a new expression that no longer has parentheses. The best thing to do is to make sure that you box it to separate your terms, and that makes it easier to find and combine your like terms in the final step. So let's start by focusing on this expression here. Let's box this. Here we go. And I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit. Okay. All right. So now let's break this up into its terms. So the first term here is a 1/4 g. And I know the term ends because of this minus sign here. So I'll drop a line here. My next term is -5. And parentheses are the only exception to the plus or minus rule, so I'll just drop a line here. Our next term is positive 2g. And there we'll drop a line. And then our final term is positive 3/4. Now we can put a little line over here to show that that is the opening of the parentheses and that's the closing of the parentheses. Just a little extra step so we know that that's what we're going to have to distribute. Okay. Because we know we have to distribute because we have parentheses and a term touching that. So let's go back to here. All right, so we're done with our first step, which is to box the expression. Next is to distribute if possible. And like we just said, we know we have parentheses and a term touching those parentheses. This -5 here is our touch term. Let's write that in. Our touch term. And all that means, that's not even a fancy way of saying it, just something I call it. The touch term because it's the term touching parentheses, and what it is what we're going to distribute to each term inside parentheses. So the first multiplication, or the first distribution, is going to be from -5 to positive 2g. And -5 times positive 2g is going to give us negative 10g. So let's write that here, negative 10g. And we're done with that distribution. And now we'll go to the next term, inside parentheses, which is positive 3/4. So we'll take -5 and multiply positive 3/4 times -5, and that will give us negative 3 3/4. Okay, and we're done with this term. All right, and since we're done with all of our distributions, we no longer need the touch term. We can cross that off as well, which means we're done with this step. We're done with distributing. Now we'll get to the next step, which is to box. But even before that, we have to think about anything that we didn't bring down yet, or anything we haven't used. We haven't used the 1/4 g, so that will just bring down to our new expression. So we'll have 1/4 g here. All right, now that brings us to our next step, which is to box everything again. I'm actually going to change colors too. So let's box this. We're going to box the entire expression, and then we'll break it up into its terms. The first term is 1/4 g, so we stop right before this minus sign. The next term is negative 10g, we stop right before this minus sign. And we are done with boxing our terms. So we're done with this step now as well. Now our last step is to combine our like terms. Whenever we have terms that we have to combine, we should always make a term table, so let's do that. Okay, we're done with that. Let's go up. All right. So let's make a term table. And a term table is just a fancy way of saying a table that we're going to use in order to separate our terms into like terms. A lot easier to organize everything. So we have the letter G here. That's our variable, our only variable. So we'll have a column for G's, and then we have this constant here, so we'll have a column for constants. So let's make our table. And then we'll draw a line across, and one line down to make our two columns. And one column is going to be for G's, and one column is going to be for our constants. Okay. And now that we have that set up, now we can go term by term from our box expression and place it in our term table. 1/4 G is a G term, so I will put that here. That's positive 1/4 G. And I like to put the positive sign just to be safe. And we can cross that off. We've got negative 10G, so I'll put negative 10G right here underneath it. I'll cross this off. And negative 3 3/4 is just a constant, so I'll put that here. Negative 3 3/4. Okay, now we're done putting our terms into our term table, so now we just go to each column and combine what we have there. And our coefficients here are positive 1/4 plus negative 10. So we're going to put that in the calculator. Again, in the calculator, I know it's a little confusing because you have a fraction here, but it's positive 1/4 plus negative 10 in the calculator, and that will give you negative 9 3/4 G. So this is the result of combining these like terms. And they're like terms because they have the variable G. And here we have our constants. But there's nothing else to combine with this, so we just bring it down. Negative 3 3/4. So therefore, our final answer is the expression negative 9 3/4 G minus 3 3/4.